This is a long video. I've never covered a DJElf7 video before. But he commented on my channel a few weeks ago. And so I checked out his channel, and it looks like he does a lot of activism in New York. And it looks like he's for real. Because he's at these places and the people that he's talking to know him and talk to him. And that's not always going to be the case, right? That's not always going to be the case. I don't know, though. Like, I'm still, after, you know, my experiences of being approached by some of the people that he's actually talking about in this video that he alludes to, I have a lot of reservations about people I meet in politics, you know?
Check it out, y'all. You're listening to the realest. You're listening to the realest voice in progressive media. DJElf7.
The DJElf7 show begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest.
By the way, I think, you know, I'm assuming you're just like doing this on your own, right? Like, it doesn't look like you're funded. I can't tell, but it's some pretty good quality if you're like doing this on your own computer. It's a pretty good quality of video editing. I'll give you that.
Gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride.
Okay, can you tell me more about, maybe when I drop this video, maybe you can reply in my comments. What happened to Larry? He used to be on my friends list for a couple of years, and I met him up at Bernie's coffee shop. But he was a real mixed bag. He was a real mixed bag, you know? Sometimes he loved me, sometimes he hated me. And so I ended up having to block him because he started getting very verbally aggressive with me. But sometimes he would then come back and say, "I'm so sorry, I was really wrong," right? And but finally I just couldn't take it anymore because the personality was so abusive that he's not family to me, you know what I'm saying? And he kept siding with some of the worst people in Hollywood. And, you know, this is the network you're talking about, too. It's like the Nick Brana network really centers around using Jimmy Dore's live streamer network. And so all of those people are connected, including the Bernie's coffee shop crowd. And Larry was, like, deep into that. I didn't realize he passed. I'm sorry that he passed. I think he was a troubled man, and I hope that he's resting in power.
No, sometimes.
I'll let him introduce himself, though, yeah? Go ahead.
Ed, much love from Seattle, bro.
Thank you.
It's Larry Alger, and I fell into the rabbit hole in 2011 when I was reporting on Occupy LA. And the rabbit hole has only gotten deeper, wider, and it's got a lot more rabbits since then. We've all got to stand up to the forces that are oppressing it.
Well, you know, okay, so the thing is with what Larry was telling you during that interview, what he didn't tell you is that he was still associating with a lot of Occupy people who are totally suspect and who have done a lot of fundraising grifts. That's where Nick Brana comes from. That's where Carlos Marroquin comes from. There's several in Orange County. The Our Revolution Costa Mesa page on Facebook, if you go back and look at the page history, it was originally an Occupy Costa Mesa page that was, I don't know how Tim got selected to become the Our Revolution chapter leader from Russell, his co-founder, and the other guy who had the Occupy page. I can't remember his name because I had to block him years ago too, because that guy was trying to force us to endorse Harley Ruda for Congress, a Republican who then became independent and then decided to run as a Democrat a few weeks, like he registered as a Democrat like right before he filed to run for Congress. And he told us all that he was in support of Medicare for all. He got the PDA endorsement. And then as soon as he passed through the primary by the skin of his teeth, he only won by like a couple hundred votes. He asked PDA to take down his survey of answers saying that he supported Medicare for all and take down his endorsement.
Do you support Julian Assange?
I support Julian Assange.
Will you pardon him?
I can't say it, just
Please, sir, please. Will you pardon him? Commute a sentence, please.
So, okay, so Bernie obviously didn't want to touch on that topic because there's a couple of different things here. There's freedom of the press, right? But then there's also Julian Assange, who not only, had the freedom of the press, but he also used social media in a very similar way to Elon Musk, where he was trying to instigate people. He was trying to instigate conspiracy theories. Like the Seth Rich thing, like the Pizzagate thing. He was trying to plant ideas in disaffected people's minds who were upset with government. And it's one thing to have freedom. Consider what those dumps looked like, because I looked at them. I was reading them every day. Did he do any actual journalism, or was he just dumping documents? He didn't put anything in context. He didn't write articles about what was coming out. So there's a question of, where does freedom of the press end? And now it's just becoming like an actual information warfare against a country. I'm really torn on this now, because at the time I was like, yeah, freedom of the press. But the more I look back at like the way that the information was presented, I feel like there was something really wrong about what was happening.
There's other top supporters in the MPP, and I'm so happy to find another one.
So first I introduced HRES 1162 with my colleague, Congressman Matt Gaetz, that very simply calls on our government to drop all charges against Edward Snowden for the actions that he took in the public interest. I also introduced HRES 1175 with my colleague, Congressman Tom Massey, which calls for the same action, for the government to drop all charges against Julian Assange, who also acted in the public interest as he published information to expose lies.
Isn't it interesting how in the aughts, when Julian Assange was doing, I think, his best work, when it was all new, right? It was the Republicans that were really pissed off about what he was doing. And then he starts dropping shit on Hillary Clinton, and all of a sudden they fucking love him, right? Now they love him.
And egregious abuses of power in our own government.
And Nick, Brana, and Jerry here. Oh my goodness, yeah. So we know a lot of our people who part of the tag group are, used to be Tulsi supporters. Also, there's some crossover that I've been speaking recently with Yang people, and I've been speaking with different groups as well. MPP, Movement for People's Party, is definitely a group that I've definitely kind of thrown my head in with personally. And we have we have two of the top members right here. I'm amazed, yeah. So. Yeah, welcome to the Taking Action group.
Welcome. This is Lisa from the West Coast, and as you know, we have a series in which we connect with other activists In addition, basically what we are, the TAG group, the Taking Action group, are a collection and network of activists from all over the U.S.
Right here, gang gang, what's up, alright, good. Alright, we're going together, here we go. Danielle, get in, this is MPP business right here. MPP, that's right.
This is not about war, this is about our quest for peace. He is not pursuing security, he's pursuing a manifest destiny plan that will not secure America, but will put the whole world at risk.
Now, just so you know,
Who is that guy? I noticed him walking in the back too. Like he's like super tall, right? Who is that guy? Did you get his name?
somebody might say, right, that we can't drop this off, but the thing is that that would be interfering with federal law, which says that you cannot interfere with deliveries, right?
They will say tonight that we're enemies of America, but we are the protectors of America. You're going to see a movement like you've never seen it before. We have the power.
The weakest link.
We're just delivery. It's just a delivery. I'm not trying to cause any problems. I just want to leave this letter for Schumer because y'all signed it. Y'all as constituents, y'all paid tax money. Part of this $500,000 that he made in 1984. I'm not mad at that. I just want to drop. I'm not trying to cause any problems. Okay, Mr. Schumer, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. There we go. Thank you so much. Hey, you guys, give yourself a big hand. Be out of here. Be out of here. Thank you so much.
It's very strange.
Mr. and Mrs. The man you're sheltering is nothing but a dirty homeless pig. A grotesque menace to our just society who had the audacity to fight back. The pig doesn't know his place, and now he needs to be taught a lesson. We need to return him to us, so that we may purge as we were intended.
It's very strange.
I just gotta say your music choices are pretty awesome. Being real on that. And yeah, that dude looks diabolical. It's kind of like some of the rallies that I've gone to where like Nick Torres and Arthur Shaper show up, and you've got like these their entire ilk of white supremacists show up to protest the rallies, like when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came to UCI a few weeks ago. And we had that dude with the brick wall suit show up to Mike Levin's rally where President Biden was the keynote speaker. When you talk to them, because they do talk to me, for some reason they recognize me, they come up to me and they talk to me, and they look like they have pure evil behind their eyes. You know, you can look at somebody's eyes and you can just like see the malice. You can see the hostility, the anger, the just like it's like Satan behind their eyes.
Jonathan Martin. I'm a team member of the Progressive Party Organizing Fund, also known as PPOF, and I'm a professor of sociology at Framingham State University who studies progressive third parties, and I have edited and contributed to a book entitled Empowering Progressive Third Parties in the United States.
Awesome. And Lynette, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lynette McLean, and I live in Colorado.
So what you're saying is that these people have banned you on social media, or they're just like they're unwilling to do your show anymore? Like, can you clarify that for me? Because like I've had the same situation. Like I had with my chapter, I had all kinds of big names showing up to my meetings, and then I got blacklisted too because of Tim Johnson, Cotran, and Karen Burnell and Danette Abbott Wicker. They Karen just supports that network, but Tim passed off fake documents that had been thrown out of court to Danette to circulate around through the organization. And they ended up even in the hands of one of my attorney friends who was like, hey, you can't be doing this. This is a huge defamation. Like, why are you doing this to her? I've been enduring this since 2018. I think it might be a newer experience for you, but I've had to go to court twice.
So this is how it all begins.
There will be any evidence to convict me, which means that catching me will be absolutely impossible.
What has happened, the way these volunteers have been treated over the past 6 months, blatantly nothing less than disrespect. A petition has started pointing out problems that were identified within the People's Party organization. Things from the democratic process not existing, to no clear bylaws, to the financials not being up to date.
That was the whole point of the petition, was to try and put in these small details that really should be in place. If you're running a political party, you should have bylaws. You should have meeting minutes. Your meetings between your quote unquote, leadership should be...
I'd like to understand a bit more about that, because Rebecca is like one of my Twitter follows as well. Like, we follow each other and have discussed like what happened with the MPP and how they were being racist and that they didn't want to actually set up a real structure. Because I've been saying since 2017 it was a fundraising scam. But I'm curious about this. Like, what was the falling out with the two of you? I'd like to understand more about that, because she hasn't presented anything to me that would indicate that she wasn't being sincere. But I don't know. Like, how do you trust people in politics? You know what I'm saying?
Information that people who are just volunteering for the organization are able to access.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So wait, did you get banned by these people, or are you saying they were banned by the MPP? I need to understand, like, what does that mean? Like, it's not so clear that I really understand what I'm watching right now. Because I know that she got kicked out. So did the other one that represented the disabled, right? I can't remember her name right now. But when you put the banned symbols on their face, does that mean they banned you, or does that mean they got banned from the MPP?
Took over the set. Shit's about to get live. Let's go.
But I was also the head of the Elections Integrity Commission that we had created, and I took that really seriously. And I wanted to have a non-biased election, and that was really important to me. But I didn't know how I could end it and also keep my job because of this dynamic that had been created.
Well, I mean, it's possible for both things to have happened, you know? She could have been a bad person who was doing some corrupt things, while at the same time deciding, hey, I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore, and saying, no, you can't touch me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, like, that would be considered, like, date rape, right? That you have some level of opening that, hey, we had, you know, something, but now we don't. And no, you can't touch me anymore, kind of thing. So both things could be true. I don't know what happened. But didn't they have an investigation? They had an event. What was the ultimate result of that investigation? I know that there might not have been a result, because didn't he purge the board that was actually investigating him. I think that's what he did, right? I totally agree with you about Medea Benjamin. The fact that she was on the board for MPP. She's also with PDA. PDA turned out to be pretty bad. I participated for a couple of years, and I quickly learned that they're not good people. And it's mostly white at the top, mostly elderly white at the top, mostly elderly white men at the top. They were really struggling to diversify. And when they did diversify, they hired what appeared to be like young, submissive women. The PDA was a real challenge for me, y'all. But I agree with you. Like, everything I've seen about Medea Benjamin just appears to be like disruptor events where she goes in and does like these crazy grabs the mic and starts screaming and yelling and stuff, and that seems to be like all that Code Pink does is just really irritating disruptor events that are not effective. It's not effective because you might get some live streaming out of that, but like the people that are in the actual vicinity are irritated as fuck that it's happening.
This is a sickness. It is deviant, therefore we don't want it.
With my father having been a Harvard man from the class of 42. And so that's an interesting connection right off the bat. And now let's talk about some of your encounters with young people more.
Hey Jake, why don't you tell Grandma about what you did on your spring break? Bad idea. What? Bad idea. Thanks for the update. I'm not sure you understand how serious
it's a Jimmy Dore, Caleb Maupin story. So Caleb Maupin was on Jimmy Dore, I believe it was Monday. Today is Wednesday. Yes, it was Monday. And they talked about a lot of things. They talked about the issue with Russia and Ukraine, and they also talked about the concern with RedTube. So I want to play a snippet of that and give you my take on this as well. Started a channel, and boom, just like that, they have 300,000, 400,000 subscribers. To the Jimmy Dore, Caleb Maupin story. To the Jimmy Dore, Caleb Maupin story. To the Jimmy Dore, Caleb Maupin story.
So what happened to the rest of the people? All of a sudden, now I stayed consistent. Somebody put a video together showing how Humanist Report and Jordan Sheridan, how they completely flipped the script on themselves. How they used to sound like us, and now they sound like Cenk Uygur and David Sirota and Ryan Grimm, making apologies for.
Circling back to your image of Epstein, who was that attorney? The attorney that got in trouble for. I'm spacing on his name right now. But when I came out with my article about how I'd been sexually harassed by a leader in our revolution, I got called the night before I published it by Lauren Steiner. And she already knew I was writing this article. She was asking me questions that I had not published any information about on social media. It was not available. So she knew that by associating with this network that was connected to the sexual harasser. And she advised me not to publish the article. They were mostly afraid that I was going to say some negative things about Tim Canova, because she was advising Tim Canova's campaign, and Nico House was too. And they were getting involved in conspiracy theories, specifically against me and somebody I was volunteering with. And so I wrote an article in response to what they were doing, and explaining how I was being sexually harassed, and they were supporting this because it would antagonize me further, and they had a hit campaign out against us. She went to that famous attorney that's connected to Epstein the very next day and had lunch with him. The very next day.
Politicians.
I just want to ask you a little bit more about what are the current goals for your channel right now? I know you said like to fight against corporate power and things like that.
Therefore,
By the way, was socialist MMA? I try and I've blocked all of these motherfuckers. I'll be real with you. But was he the dude back in 2020 that was trying to fundraise to get a Bernie journey? I think he raised something like $5,000 in just a couple of days to have a Bernie journey. I found, by the way, that most of the people who were doing Bernie journeys were so full of shit. They were just out there to party and disrupt the volunteers. So a lot of these motherfuckers seem like they're either complete knuckleheads or they're operatives trying to disrupt the campaign.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh no, that next sentence. Therefore, I ended up doing sex work so I could make enough to support our household and pay off my debts while still having enough time to Jesus. I distinctly remember telling Caleb that it seemed like sex work was my only way out of this delicate financial situation. His response was simply that he respects my decision. Prostitute yourself for the communist cause, comrade. What the fuck? In retrospect, it seems like the real reason he didn't mind doing sex work while I was living in CPI's New Jersey housing is because he probably wanted to become one of my clients. For what it's worth, after I left JBV House, he eventually did become a client of mine. Caleb kicked me out of the John Brown Volunteers in the beginning of November 2021 after I relapsed on heroin in late October. At that point, I took some time away from the organization, only attended a few smaller events. She relapsed at age 19? She relapsed on heroin?
Alan Dershowitz. I just remembered the name. It was Alan Dershowitz that she had lunch with.
And now let's talk about some of your encounters with young people more. That's a great.
The main conflict between Caleb and I that arose after I lost my job was this. I started living in Jersey City with the John Brown Volunteers in August 2021, yet just treating the Center for Political Innovation as the main aspect of my life wasn't enough for him. Caleb made it clear that if I really cared about him and my other comrades, CPI would have to become my life. Jesus Christ.
This is a sickness. It is deviant, therefore we don't want it.
The fact that she put out this strong of a statement means that it was bad, guys. It was fucking bad. She saw some bad shit, and she felt the need to take to Twitter and expose it. Status quo.
You know, Paula Jean and I were friends for years as well. And when she joined the MPP, I called her out for it. And then she dropped off. She dropped off my social media. But she had added me to canning groups and stuff. We were talking about cooking and having all kinds of, I think I even talked to her over the phone at one point. But there is some sort of cult sickness to what's going on with this shit.
has also learned MPP paid graphic design company Upstatement $20,000 for MPP's logo and other branding. Multiple MPP sources tell me that MPP is currently using their old logo, so I cannot confirm whether the new logo was ever delivered to MPP. And even if it was, $20,000 for fucking graphic design? What kind of shady shit exactly is going on here? What exactly the fuck are they using your guys' donations for? And again, there's a lot of people that donated to this in good faith, thinking they were supporting a good cause. Again, like Zach said, we were originally supporters of the People's Party too. After their convention they put on about over a year ago now, we were really inspired. We had a lot of chats with people that were interested. Yeah, straight up. And shame on everyone that continued to promote this fucking grift of an organization after this information was already readily available, not just thanks to us, and everyone else who shined a light on what was very fucking clearly going on. Let's not kid ourselves.
Thank you very much, Nick Brana, the National Chairman of the People's Party. And for those who may have just joined us, we're deep in the panel near the
Brothers and sisters, we gather today as the world stares into the abyss of nuclear winter, that long freeze that follows the raging fire of humanity's last war, a cold and dead world, all that remains of a once lush oasis in the vast emptiness of space. We gather because we...
Just being real, there are at least a handful of PDA leadership, like upper leadership, that are totally on board with his bullshit and on board with his followers. Like Carlos Marroquin he's not a leader in PDA, but he was apparently formerly an Occupy leader, and he bought into the and I think he still does, into the MPP movement. Dude still shows up at all of the Democratic conventions though, because they all show up anyway. They show up because they want to gain information, get selfies, and try and form relationships so they can weasel their way in and mess with people. And I've seen that motherfucker at so many conventions, but he was totally a Nick Brana cohort. And there were people in PDA leadership who challenged me on that. And I'm like, dude, all you have to do is look at his social media. This is why, they just came up with an excuse, because I was pointing this shit out to them.
Stand on the edge of that future, a new ice age of our own making, where the ash of humanity blocks out the sun, where the oceans freeze and the crops perish, where the lights flicker and fade, where famine and plague kill all who survived the blasts, the sudden extinction of all life on Earth. In rebellion against the forces of war and annihilation, my spirit calls out for all who suffer from this war and the countless future generations.
You know where this mindset comes from, though, right? This is like Pentecostal thinking, that the end of the world is coming. And so we must all live in fear at all times. We can't just, work towards making the planet a better place. We have to be in fear that life will extinguish in like 10 years, right? Like it's all going to be, because we've gone through this before, the Mayan calendar, the Y2K update, like we've gone through this so many fucking times. And that's why they bring up New World Order and all this other bullshit. It's a Pentecostal way of thinking that they're hoping for the rapture.
Whose lives hang in the balance. My spirit calls out, joined by millions who refuse to accept the destiny written by the most violent among us.
Spirit, destiny.
Refuse to accept the fate that they have ordained. So long as we draw breath, we will not allow
ordained. He's using religious terms.
The life of this world to be extinguished. Thank you.
Just as a heads up for like us elderly folk who don't have great eyesight, you got to hold the words on the screen a little bit longer. Well, hang on. Didn't Jimmy Dore get credit for Force the Vote before Jackson Hinkle started using it as a hashtag? Wasn't he the one? Because, like, if I remember the timeline of events, basically Nina Turner left the Celebrity Council, the Advisory Council, right? And then declared that she was going to run as a Democrat for Congress. So they came after her first. And then they realized that wasn't going to work. Because they only did it for a couple of days or so before they then switched to attacking all of the squad, if you will. They started coming after the squad, and that's when the Force the Vote hashtag started coming up, because they were trying to pressure the squad to vote against Nancy Pelosi's re-election as Speaker, which would have resulted... I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on this one. If they had done that, it would have given the GOP the opportunity to get in Kevin McCarthy. That's why they didn't do it. There's a difference between doing that on an issue, which they should have done. Obviously, they didn't do the right thing on the last vote. They should have voted against the last one, which I'm spacing on what that is right now. But when it came to actual control of things, when it comes to like electing people, that's, you can't fuck around with your vote on that.
It's a dark day and
Well, wait a minute. Do you think that Dore's the one in control or Nick's the one in control? Because I think Nick is the one that has the actual fundraising operation, right? He's got the fundraising operation, whereas I think Dore, yeah, he is probably getting paid by Nick. I'm making some assumptions here. But he also has other sources of income, obviously. But I don't think that Dore is the strategist here. Because I think he tries to be a stand-up comedian. And that he has writers. Whereas Brana is the one who has been trying to mastermind a fundraising grift for several years now. Even to the point where he claims that he was a staffer on the Bernie campaign for 2016, and the campaign allegedly denies it. Right?
nation, when high-level authorities will seek to use every method to silence dissent, the truth must be told.
And if you want the truth, you need to check out independent media producers just like myself, DJElf7. You should subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications when I release a new video.
Truth of these words is beyond doubt.
That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Unfortunately,
Okay, so I guess it's pretty much over. I guess this is going to be just ads for the rest of it. Well, I mean, keep up your activism in New York. I know I was working my ass off to fight for workers, and now I have to try and recover and heal my leg. So I can't really do much now except for watch all your videos and everybody else's videos and decide whether or not I want to comment on them.